Hey Robin, good evening. Nice to see you. So it might be a very, very quiet evening. Might be just you and me hanging out. Who knows? I just put out a little YouTube mini short thing to, about an hour or two ago, like an alert in case anybody was out and about and they wanted a reminder that we sometimes do these Sunday Night Live mini readings. Oh gosh, I might be sneezing in any moment. Good evening, Mr. Ross. Alright, so I've just finished the Astrodoodle. Let me get over here a second. I need to top up on a refreshment here. Oopsie daisy. Okay. Just bear with me. This is a very delicate process. And we'll get going here in just a moment. I'll put some of that aside. Okay. Alright. There we go. Let's have a look. So, right. So you've probably figured out that TarotLumination is still in a deep sort of transition phase right now. It's a very long, slow, deep, grinding type of transformation. Again, none of this surprises me when I look at the planets, and especially when I look at the planets and what's going on out there with what's happening in here in my own personal world. So, yeah, we just roll with it. Cheers, everybody. So, let's see, what would it be, about 4 or 5 days ago now? There was an average to medium, almost small coronal mass ejection, or a solar flare, like a combination. There's different terminology, but basically a big old from the sun. It was actually a pretty big one, and we got just a kind of a glancing blow. But even a glancing blow from something that big can have an impact. And also, because our geomagnetic field is significantly weaker than it was like 120 years ago, we feel the impact much more. And it's starting to become noticeable on the solar weather charts that I watch. You can see, okay, so there's the sun weather doing what it does. Tick, tick, tick. Oh, solar flare. Tick, 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 solar flare. But when you look at the charts for the radiation and the proton storm and everything, it goes blam! And that's what we feel here. And the reason is because the geomagnetic field that surrounds planet Earth is just not as strong as it used to be. And it's getting weaker, and it's going to continue to get weaker over the next, 100 years or so, 50 years, as we go through this magnetic pole shift. It's starting to show in real time on scientific charts. And so anyway, back to the story, about 4 or 5 days ago, that happened over here, and I know I was looking for an excuse. I always blame the planets. I kept thinking, well, what's the problem here? How come I can't figure it out? And of course, I had to look beyond my astrology charts, and I went back into the astronomy charts, and I went, oh, now that makes sense. So that makes sense. And it turns out it was the sun itself. Our whole solar system orbits around the sun, and so when the sun does its, behavior, it affects everyone and everything. Hello, Adam Salmon. Let me just see the notes there. So Adam, the way to get into the show is what you're doing right now. Basically, you're on YouTube, you're here as a guest, and I use Zoom as part of doing the show, but I have to lock it up so that, because if people try to come in to a Zoom meeting, it's, in terms of timing and sequence, it's out of alignment with what gets broadcast, so it makes it impossible. So, but we do, by the way, Adam, every now and again, it hasn't happened for a long time, but we do hold private Zoom meetings now and again. But what I usually do is I plan those in advance, and I give people advance warning and advance notice, and then we schedule a time and day, and then people show up, and you get the entry code, and then you just click that from your email, and then you enter the Zoom meeting. Okay, but we're not doing that tonight. Also, another thing, Adam. But can you go back to the Zoom, because a lot of people are in the Zoom meeting? Oh, I don't understand that. Adam, it's not going to be unlocked. The only time I ever unlock a Zoom meeting is when I have a scheduled, planned, typically a private function where people are invited, and it's for a specific topic, usually something that we can't talk about on YouTube. And so we schedule those in advance. I send out emails to everybody who is on the list and who wants to participate. And then I send a link that will unlock the Zoom meeting so that you can enter. I don't know if anyone else is doing that right now, but I can't help them, okay? I can't help you anymore, Adam. I've explained it as best as I can. I'm sorry. All right, so. All right. Now I'm operating my Zoom Pro system right now to do the show, but there is no active meeting. I don't have a group meeting staged or organized or scheduled right now, and so the Zoom Pro is totally locked. Okay. Okay, I can't help you anymore, Adam. I've explained things as best as I can. So, anyway, what I found is a typical pattern that I've been noticing more and more over the last year or two. It's not just the sun and the heat over here in Las Vegas. I have a lot of problems with that, with my physiology and my health. But with the radiation, the actual radiation and the proton storms that come with these massive coronal mass ejections and the solar flares. Because typically a solar flare might happen on the cameras or on the satellites when they observe, but it takes about 2.5, maybe 3 days for the storm to actually reach Earth if it's facing in the Earth direction. And so again, after 2 or 3 days, you kind of lose track of the events and the weather and everything. And then I realized, oh my God, it's the CME, and it makes me feel very nauseous and weak and very anxious, very stressed, and just kind of want to wimp out and hide. And at the same time, I noticed that Boo Boo was feeling very, very depressed. And he was hiding and curling up. He wasn't eating any food. He wasn't drinking any water. And he was very, very, very sensitive. And this went on for days. And today he's starting to recover. And like a lot of animals, they can be very, very sensitive to things that we don't notice. Okay. All right, so I just wanted to share that with you in case anyone else had any fuzzy wuzzy feelings about 4 days ago. It's starting to clear right now. The solar weather is very, very quiet at the moment. There's some big sunspots, but the weather itself is very mellow. Okay, I got to catch up here. Okay, so here, Adam, here's what I can suggest. Here's what I suggest. Here is my email address. What you can do is write to me directly at this address, and I will add you to my list, okay? And so that whenever we do schedule a private meeting, then you will get the notice, okay? And here is the email. It sounds like this: a little book about at yahoo.com. ALITTLEBOOKABOUT at yahoo.com. Okay? There you go. That's how you do it. And then you'll be on the email list. It's best to do it just directly. The reason I'm saying that is because right now I have a TarotLumination website where you can do a lot of things. This is where people would make donations, they would schedule meetings, they would connect with me. You can see over here on the main website, this is the donate page where you would click the donate button and make your donation for a mini reading and so on. But there's usually an indication over here on the menu at the top about meetings, memberships, making connections with me, subscribing, booking readings, paying for readings, and so on. It's all there at TarotLumination.com. So I hope that helps you. Another thing I noticed, you know how you can kind of just like feel weather? You can feel weather sort of in the same way that people, feel vibes, oh, it's a weird day, oh, it's a great day, or whatever. And I often find a correlation with the planets. So like for today, for example, I'm going to go to the stage and show you. So this is what we have right now. And we've been dealing with this. I'll have to check email. I'll check the emails in just a minute. Okay, folks? So, you see this big green kite-shaped thing here? It's been with us for quite some time now, as Mercury, Sun, and Venus have been hovering around this area of the chart. And what it's been doing is highlighting and establishing this big astrology kite, okay? And the kite is a very powerful, strong, harmonious alignment. But again, with any alignment, because it's very harmonious, it's very easy for people with nefarious intent to abuse this energy for negative use, unhealthy use. And we've talked about that plenty of times on my Rumble. By the way, I should mention that, shouldn't I? Okay, let me just jump over here. Seems to be some chatter going on over there. Give me a second, folks. I got to check in here. Oh, okay. Hello, Ivona. Yes, I can sort that out for you. Gregory, yes, I can sort that out for you. Let's have a look here. Give me a second. I'm just doing homework behind the scenes. And okay, so please bear with me. Okay, not quite sure what's happening here. There's some kind of technical glitchy witchy thing happening in the background. And I'll go back over here. Thank you, Gregory. So we got that sorted out. Thank you, Ivona. And I see some notes from you. Give me a second. I'm going to read those notes here. I'll have to do that. Yes, Ivona, I can fit you in here. I'm just reading notes right now. Okay, I'm going to keep those notes handy when we actually get around to doing a reading, but for the time being, I'm going to switch back over to the show where I can function. I'll keep an eye out, Adam. I'm going to check an eye out. I don't see anything here at the moment. Let me just double check. No, I don't see anything. All right, no worries. We're just going to move on for the moment and we'll catch up, okay? All right, so what I was trying to explain is that we've got this big fat green kite thing here, which in terms of the astrology is very, very strong. It's very powerful. Now that can happen anywhere in a chart, okay? That particular alignment doesn't have to be exactly here. It could be over facing this way or facing this way. It would still be called a kite. But there's something extra special about this one, and the reason it's so bizarre and it's very, very extreme in terms of the astrology, and that's because we're dealing with multiple cusp energy here. Right now the Sun is on the cusp, Pluto on the cusp, Neptune on the cusp, Uranus very close to the cusp. And so that tends to kind of stretch the ability of Homo sapiens to cope with energy. Let's put it this way. It leads to a tremendous sense of, should I do this? Should I do that? What's happening? Is this reality or is that reality? What's my reality? Oh, it's this. Oh, wait a minute. I thought it was this. And you get kind of shuffled around because with all 4 points of the kite sitting on cusp energy, it makes things very, very unstable for the whole world. And because the way I look at it is because it's very strong right now, the instability is very strong, and a lot of people are at this sort of tipping point of ambiguity, like they don't know what to say, what to think, who they are, who to trust, who's real, who's not real, who's in charge. When I look at the signs. So it makes it very, very difficult to plan things, to stand strong behind your decisions and your convictions, and to be utterly convinced in your own perception of reality. There's a lot of question marks, and that can be very unsettling. For example, in the global financial markets, it creates a lot of turmoil. Not necessarily because I'm talking about financial astrology, it's just because the energy itself it's so ambiguous that when it comes to making very big, important decisions, sometimes people make a decision thinking that's the right thing and then regretting it instantly, or sometimes they refuse to make a decision because they're scared of making the wrong decision, and then they realize, oh, I should have made a decision anyway. It almost feels like a lose-lose situation. For myself, what I noticed is that I reached a peak, a crescendo last night when the aspects were very, very, very acute, very, very precise on the angles of the kite. And I think what happened is my own internal fuses kind of just went, they just blew. And because I've been needing sleep, I've been pretty sleep deprived for quite a long time, and especially in the last 4 days or so, ever since Boo Boo started to be very unsettled. I think it just caught up with me, and my whole body just kind of went poof, and I decided I'm not going to fight this. Yesterday I took a nap. It turned out to be a very deep, short nap. I woke up, a lot of black circles were fading under my eyes. The same thing this morning, and the same thing with a nap, short, brief nap today. What I noticed is a lot of the stress was fading away. And it's not because I've solved all the things that are stressing, that are causing personal stress over here, because I'm affected just as much as anyone else is by these aspects. What I feel happened is that I had a natural self-defense mechanism that was triggered, where my internal fuses just blew. And my body told my brain, listen, just shut up. Just shut up. Stop tracking whatever it is you feel that you need to track to keep your channel, your show, your content, your brand relevant. Just shut up and take a break. Okay? You'll actually start to function a lot better if you just shut up and take a break. Of course, I wasn't thinking that consciously. My body took over. And an example was this morning. Normally I'm up at around 5:30 or 6 a.m. Putter, 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 chores, chores, chores. And eventually you can see the dawn and eventually the sunrise. And okay, so it feels very natural and normal. And I double checked on the kitty cats and everything seemed to be like, oh, okay, there's life. Things aren't so bad. There's movement. There's a little bit of normality. And so my body just went and I slept. Like total blackout sleep for another 2 hours. It was wonderful. Wonderful. If there were dreams, couldn't remember anything. Okay. So, well, okay. So, Ross, it looks like you've changed from Gregory to... Okay, so let me go back to the charts a second. So, this part, everything here, like I said, this could be anywhere. Okay, but it just happens to be the way this kite is aligned. It's on these very challenging pivot points, these tipping points. Like 29 degrees, 29 degrees, 27 degrees, 29 to 0 to 1 degree over here. These are like tipping points energies, and it can put a lot of stress on the body, even though the kite is a very powerful, harmonious aspect. So you might as well take advantage. If you're sensing a bit of a lull, or your fuses have blown and you've reached a kind of a crisis point or a crescendos in your life where your fuses are just blowing. Oh, so there's a Gregory Ross and then there's Ross. Hello, Ross. So if your fuses are blowing, just accept that as just a side effect or a symptom of, or just blame it on the planets like I do. Now, the tricky part, actually, in many ways, is the massive opposition that naturally comes with every kite. Every kite is built in with a massive opposition here. In this case, it is the Sun opposing Neptune, okay? So, I've been talking a lot about this on my Rumble channel, where I can talk openly and freely without the censorship that we have here on YouTube. And so if anyone's interested in some of the what's actually going on here, please let me see if I can find it for you and I'll show you. Give me a second. So that so it kind of makes sense. Point I'm trying to get at is I'm really just here to do some live mini readings tonight and give folks a chance to have a connection with tarot and a little bit of service to the audience, So let me see if I can find this here, and I'll give you an indication. All right, so here, this is my channel on Rumble. It looks like this. There's TarotLumination on Rumble. Just look for this blue T. I just posted a video, okay? And these are what my astrology update videos look like. This is what I used to do on YouTube all the time. That got me in so much trouble, okay? And so all I do is update everything, and it's just astrology reports. But I deal with the controversial stuff that gets me shut down. So how else can I do this? Let me go to the generic Rumble page so you can see what that looks like. Okie dokie, and let's go to home. Okay, so for example, this is a popular like front page of what Rumble looks like. There's the Rumble logo. It's kind of green, like a triangular thing. And there's all sorts of, okay, let's have a look, my feed. Let's have a look, sports, viral, power. Anyway, let's do finance videos. There we go. So here's like they have, it's just another video streaming service like YouTube, but it's much more focused on freedom of speech, okay? So please, please help yourself to TarotLumination at Rumble. All right, let me just top up here and I'll be with you and folks in a second. All right. All right, let's get this rolling over here. Okay, Ivona, you've got a mini reading coming up. Thank you so much. I'm going to get to your notes in a little bit. I got your email. And we got another one for Gregory Ross over here. Okie dokie. The thing is, what happens over here is that my studio is the same, and some of the technology is similar to working on Rumble, but in fact, I'm finding it very difficult to navigate and relearn the whole process on Rumble because it looks the same. Okay, there's a video and there's a platform and you click and you watch a video, but for me, the creator, the content provider, it feels like a completely different mechanism and process to get the content to you, and that has been causing me a lot of stress. I'm still learning. I have a lot more learning to do. Let's go over here for a second. I want to show you a few things. So today's the 22nd. The whole of September is a crisis month, okay? And we crescendoed very recently. We had these eclipses, okay? Here and here. A lot of these notes correlate to a lot of my videos on Rumble, okay? So I'm not going to talk about this much here tonight, but these are, just this alone is incredibly stressful for the whole world. And then you pile it up with Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune all retrograde at the same time as Pluto retrograde. It's very, very stressful. Then you load on the layers of the eclipses, and then you have this triangle here, this massive kite, and this massive opposition. And I don't know about you, but I think a lot of people are starting to freak out all across the world. And there's a lot of people are becoming unglued. Countries are coming unglued. Currencies are coming unglued. Politicians are coming unglued. Politicians are getting, let's say, targeted, and so on and so on. And it's not over. We're entering a long period of crisis and instability. Okay? One example is just the financial world over here. Uranus is in Taurus right now, retrograde. There's tremendous upheavals and instability in the global financial system. the people over here in the 8th house, represented by Scorpio, which would be, for example, the United States Federal Reserve, the banking system, the central banks all across the world, and all the politicians and governments that work in collusion. And then you add in BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, Blackstone, Fidelity, and all those big mega funds. They are in very, very deep trouble. They're trying to maintain stability, power, money, and control. But they're finding it very, very difficult because they don't control this. They believe that they are above God, above nature. I'm sorry, they're just products of nature. That what they have done is observed and participated in nature, and they have found ways to abuse nature to their benefit at our expense. So, anyway, I don't want to get... As you can see, I'm already heading off a cliff here if I'm not careful. Anyway, please factor in tremendous instability for the next few months, okay? However this looks in your personal chart. Right now, with this fierce opposition of the Sun opposite Neptune, it's been that way for the last few days. It'll be that way for another few days. What's happening is, like I'm talking about on my Rumble channel, is that if you imagine the Sun, symbolically here, the Sun as a massive, let's say, like a flashlight or one of those doctor's tools. Well, let me show you. I've talked about this before, but I'm going to illustrate it again just a little bit. So, the world, Homo sapiens, people, the masses, we the people, and the elites, all of them, all of the elites, everybody, all the elite people who basically own and control this thing, planet Earth, they are in as much trouble as we the people. They have the ability to cover it up and manipulate and lie and steal their way through it because they do really have all the power and the money and the control on a three-dimensional plane. What they don't have is love. They are completely absent. It's completely hollow. It doesn't exist in their world. In fact, they can't allow it to exist. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to operate. So they willingly and deliberately disconnect from the healing power of love in order to propagate and perpetrate their monstrosity of a scam across the world. So what's happening is, with the Sun opposing Neptune, okay, all the planets have what you could call a healthy or an unhealthy expression, but that's really up to people in how you interpret the energy. Let's say someone who was born and raised in a house with a lot of violence and abuse between the parents or siblings or something like that, and they fell into that kind of behavior where spontaneous violence is just a natural behavior for them. Like anything that pisses you off, you just lash out with violence and you punch and hit people, okay? And it's very, very, very common. So, you know, a guy who gets pissed off with his wife said, you know what, honey, listen, you didn't make the breakfast. You know I was going to be out late with my guy, so just shut up and leave me alone. It's very, very common. It's sad. But that would be an unhealthy expression of human behavior. Didn't have to be that way. There are people on Earth who've endured tremendous abuse and suffering, and they find a way to overcome and reformat themselves to be not only neutral, but very, very loving, and just the exact opposite of the way they were conditioned. So anyway, imagine the Sun is this like doctor's examination light, and they're sticking the flashlight up your nose, your nostrils, into your eyes. You know, they do those tests. They're looking down, and they're looking in here. They want to see what's going on. They're checking your nodes. They're checking everything here. They want to know what's going on. And what they are discovering with this very powerful diagnostic tool is that the planet, well, not the planet is just perfect. we the people, Homo sapiens, a lot of people are very, 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 very sick. And some of those people are at the very, very pinnacle of power and money and control, and they are extremely sick. And they're taking out their sickness on we the people. They already have it, they own it, they effectively own and operate this planet as though they own it like a farm. And they farm our energy. And they want more. They want more power, more money and control, and they've got 8 billion people that they can harvest. But they have very strange views on how to do this properly. And they present it to us as something very beautiful. Like, they are here to help you. Now, pretend I'm one of the elites. I'm here to help you. We're going to have a whole world government. Everything's going to be beautiful. We're going to organize everything. You won't have to think about anything. So just trust me. Trust us. Okay? Vote for me, and I will save you. So take that as you will, but what's happening with the Sun opposing Neptune is that billions of people across the earth are waking up because they can see the reality, and the reality is stark. In other words, you can't avoid the blinding pure light of the Sun on the very, very sick, unhealthy expression of Neptune. And what we're seeing is globalized disease, sickness, perversion, crime, theft, violence, abuse of all kinds by one group of people onto another group of people. Most especially very, very elite people onto the masses. And that's very, very evil. And it makes me very upset. And a lot of people are getting very upset around the world, and they're trying to figure out what are we going to do about it. How do we fight back against the evil? And it's tricky, but people are starting to fight back. You have to wake up. You got to wake up, people. Some people don't want to wake up because the shock of the reality, the shock of truth is too much for them. They know they can't handle it, so they deliberately choose to stay in an illusion. They'd rather have the illusion than reality. I don't operate like that, but billions do. They choose that. I think it's very strange. Okay. All right, let's have a look here. I just want to check up on something, but in a moment, I'm not going to waste a lot of time for you guys here. I'm just going to dive in and do the readings, okay? And what I'm going to do is keep doing this. It's a very long-term degradation here on my brand channel on YouTube, because eventually I'm just going to migrate the whole thing onto Rumble. There's really, I guess I could stay. I don't know. I'm not one of the favored channels, so give me a second here. So just peruse this for a minute. I've got a little bit of homework to do behind the scenes to find out what the hell is going on. Okay, so I got a reading booked for Ivona. Got a reading booked for Gregory. Now, I think the best thing to do would be, let me go to, you know what? How about this? All right, so, okay, I'm seeing your notes here in front of me, okay, Ivona? So bear with me a second. I gotta figure out what we're dealing with here. Okay, it says here, I'm hoping for, okay, I'm just gonna read this because these are the notes, and this is a public forum where we're doing this. So, hello TL. I'm hoping for a reading tonight if you can fit me in. Yeah, it's just right now it's just you and me and Gregory, really. I think we've been communicating through my AOL account before, but this is my email I've been using more lately if you'd like to make a note. Yes, I will do that. In fact, let me do that right now. Give me a second here. Where is my... Okay, so I'm going to make a note here. Okay, I can see it. Let me just write it down here. at Gmail. Okay, so it's a generic, good old-fashioned Gmail account. Okay, I got that. I'll use that from now on. Okay, so it says here, the reading I'd like to ask you for today is in repurchasing a property I found. Okay. Oh, regard. Okay. Regard to purchasing a property I found. Okay. There are some delays, but I hope it will be mine soon. It's a real retreat. Like the ones you've always talked about. Any messages about it? I'd love to hear. I sent the payment. Woo! Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh, Ivona. Hello, Maheen. All right. Let's have a look here. I gotta boost up some air here. Give me a second. All right. Wow, that's exciting. Okay, so I just checked in. We're going to do a reading tonight, a live public mini reading tarot for Ivona. Some of you I know, Ivona has been with the channel for a very long time, almost as long probably as Maria. I don't see Maria here. Gregory's been with the channel a long time, and so has Necessary True. I think Necessary was here. Did she visit? I can't remember. Let's see. I can't. I'm not sure. Let's have a look. I didn't see it. Okay, so anyway, this is kind of exciting. Hello, Heather. Haven't seen you in a while. So, Heather, in case you haven't got the notice, TarotLumination is migrating to Rumble. Okay, there are some wonderful channels on YouTube. I still love YouTube, but it's very difficult for me to operate here. So I'm moving the bulk of what I do onto Rumble. But for people who are used to visiting here on the Sunday Night Live minis, I'll still be doing the shows here, the Sunday night tarot mini readings, okay, for the time being. Heather, you moved out of Vancouver? Wow. Okay, so another thing, Heather, in case you're not aware, I'm doing a lot more content now, and I'm putting it on Rumble. You have to go to rumble.com. I probably shouldn't even say that here. I had a bunch of videos knocked off of my channel here on YouTube because I was trying to indicate people to go somewhere else that wasn't YouTube. Other people do it all the time. Anyway, so I'm living, in my own life, I'm living on a tipping point. I'm moving from one world to another world. It's a very, very slow migration. As much as I'd love to resolve everything and just go click, okay, everything's great, we're doing everything on Rumble, it's not that easy. I still have to keep a presence here on YouTube, and I still have a lot to learn about Rumble, okay? Okay, please, yes, Heather, please check it out on Rumble, because on Rumble I share everything that I can that I cannot share here on YouTube anymore. They'll just keep shutting it down, deleting, demonetizing, and all of that. So it's just not worth the effort. It also kind of breaks my heart a little bit because there's a bunch of people I love on YouTube, and they have, really big channels. So they're heavily invested in the success of their YouTube, but they are starting to suffer some of the, let's say, restrictions that I've been dealing with for years. And it's going to be much more difficult for those channels, I would imagine, to migrate because, some of them are making really, really good money on their YouTube channels. And then the thought of having to take all of that business and to start from scratch on another platform is very, very daunting. So what I've noticed is some of the channels that I love, they're just self-censoring. And so a lot of the things that I used to love about those channels, I'm just not getting it anymore because they censor themselves out of relevance. And so it's almost like, well, no, I can figure that stuff out myself. Why should I even watch your channel? Of course, I still do to some extent a little bit, but things are changing. And the whole world is changing. You know, they shut down X in Brazil, and now it's up again. It's causing a lot of turmoil. They tried to shut down Telegram and put the guy in prison. That's causing a lot of turmoil. There's so much turmoil as we go over these massive, very, very slow moving tipping points. You know, when people reach a tipping point, they think, oh, poof, gone, tipping point there, done, okay? But the tipping points I'm talking about are pivoting around Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, especially. And a little bit of Saturn, but Pluto, Neptune, and Uranus, and they're all on these cusps. And so the actual phenomenon of the tipping point is very, very slow. In terms of the astrology, it's just another tipping point. But the way we feel it as people, because we have a very, very short lifespan as an organism, we want things like at the speed of Mercury. Most human experience happens through Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, and that's it. But go deeper, you know, Jupiter and Saturn, things like fate, fortune, karma, debt, pain and suffering, and then all the transpersonal stuff with Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. A lot of that never gets integrated into billions of people on Earth. So many people are just trying to survive that they're kind of stuck living in the very narrow paradigms of Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, and Mars. That's it. Over here with TarotLumination, we are way, way out on the fringes, okay? Which I think is a good thing. I'm happier there. So, I got a bunch of notes there. So let me catch up. Let me just check the notes on the screen. So Gregory, Mr. Gregory Ross, I hope that helped you to understand, like, your question, like, when is this going to be over? I'm planning for years. Well, let's say at least a year over this tipping point. One of the major factors that we're going to notice the most is Uranus, because that moves the fastest. Even though it's very, very slow, it moves a lot faster than Neptune or Pluto. So Uranus is heading right in, it's on the 27, 28 degree mark right now, heading towards the crisis point, 29 and 0. The thing is, Uranus is retrograde, so it's actually backing off from there. So we're going to retrograde away from the major tipping points that I was talking about, and then move forward again next year more into the crisis tipping point, which we're going to see in the global economy, which is going to be in complete turmoil. Okay? So, you know how they say, like in America, it doesn't matter who wins the election. It's a selection. If Kamala wins or Donald wins, it doesn't matter. Whoever wins, they are going to inherit a massive, massive problem that no country or population has ever seen before. You think we got problems now? Wait until Pluto goes into Aquarius and Uranus goes into Gemini. It's going to be extremely vibrant, very, very exciting, extremely turbulent, and very, very unstable. And for some people, that's an opportunity. Woohoo! But for a lot of people, it's going to translate into chaos, pain, suffering. Okay? So I'm just giving you a heads up. All right, let me just check the notes here. Hello, Heather. You love the Sunday night bus. Yes, check it out on Rumble. Ross, hello, Ross. Right, hello, Ross. Okay. I've seen this happening across channels, but not about content, by earning potential. Yeah. They have moved to part-time or other channels. It's not just you. Yeah, that's true. Thank you for understanding, Ross. Okay. Let's see, Heather. Yes, I received a renovation, and after living in the same place for 17 years and couldn't afford to live in Vancouver on my own anymore, so I had to move to Souk, British Columbia. Okay. Yeah, Vancouver is extremely expensive to live there. They call it Raincouver, apparently. Ross, moving from tarot to musicians to comedy. Yeah, okay. That was me, not Gregory. But I understand the mix-up. What are the chances? Anyway, so my personal life and wild highs and lows. Extremes, yes. Okay. Okay, that's the Gregory Ross. Yes, I can see you differently on the channel. There's Ross and then there's Gregory Ross. I see that. Okay. All right. So, rather than me slipping into the quagmire of my deranged mind where I share all the things that I love to share that get me into so much trouble, we're just going to do some live mini readings. Okay? Thank you. So here we go. All right, I've got to clear this up. I've got to pull out the deck, and we're going to shuffle up, and then we're going to do the readings, okay? Should be enough to get us going. Let's see how we get going. All right, now, all right, Ivona. So, what kind of messages do we have here for Ivona tonight regarding this property, which is, from what you're just saying, it's like a retreat, sort of like the things that I was talking about years ago in my wonderful fantasies and dreams about having a retreat. Okay. Okay. So okay. Okay. There's some delays, but I hope it will be mine soon. Okay, so let's not worry about the delays. Let's just focus on the energy of the property itself and yourself and the harmony and the connection, however that's going to work out in real life, with, the finances and the brokers and the lenders or whoever it is involved, the sellers, however that works, okay? Let's see what, let's say, your invisible friends have to share. So, Ivona, you're very familiar with what we do here. So it works best by invitation. If you invite your invisible friends to get extra close than what you're normally used to in day to day, it really helps to amplify the, let's say, perception of the reading. I do the same thing here. I kind of ask my invisible friends to join me for the show and to add their, let's say, energy, their input, which helps me to be a better instrument of the healing power of love, in this case, a tarot reader. And you're already familiar with this, but in case there's other people out there who are here for the first time or whatever, like Ross, it's this particular deck I'm using. I don't do reversals or jumpers or flyers or oracles. I have 3 spreads that I use. I have my situational spread, which is very simple, very powerful, and then I have my love and relationship spread, and then my heart spread, which is more like a soul's journey, deep dive stuff, which we do on the private readings. I don't do those other ones live. I only use my little situational spread. And again, for those who are not familiar, the situational spread is basically like a diagnostic tool. Just same as when you go into a car place and you said, man, something's wrong with my car. There's blinky lights on the dashboard. I don't know what's going on. It's making weird sounds and there's some smoke. And so they plug in the diagnostics and the diagnostic tool comes out and says, you've got this, and this problem. Now we know what it is. Now we know how to fix it. You've got to reveal it to heal it. That's all we're doing here. Okay, so we've already basically well shuffled, but I want to go to the last second so that you're a witness. And then we're going to keep it really simple. So what messages do we have here tonight for Ivona regarding herself and the purchasing of this new retreat property that's on her radar that she's very keen on having? Let's have a look. God, wouldn't that be amazing? All right, let's have a look here. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. And here's how we're going to handle things. And then we're going to look at external influences, whatever they might be. And of course, I usually default to the planets, but let's have a look. I don't usually personify this, but let's have a look anyway. 3 of Cups. Well, isn't that sweet? It's definitely an energy of celebration. And in what you're talking about with the property, it usually involves multiple people. So if you are sensing already that there's a potential to celebrate, Ivona, between perhaps yourself, your seller, your broker, however it's working out for you, it could be one of these mutually beneficial situations where, for example, it might seem very like fated or serenely blessed, where you just happened to be the right aspiring buyer at the right time with the right seller of the right property for the right reasons, with the correct broker and all the other ancillary stuff that goes with a property transaction. So this is a sense of optimism here in the background. My feeling is that, of course, as you know, I love to blame it on the planets. It might be, dear Ivona, that you are experiencing the beneficial aspects of this beautiful, powerful kite. Okay? Now, across the world, we are seeing some very, very dark, very, very ugly stuff coming out in this situation. But if you are living a life in a world where you are not trying to tap into the most sinister, evil, dark aspects of the energy that could be contained in here, you might be enjoying the flip side, which would be the divine blessings of this kite energy. Literally, divine blessings. Oh, with the trine, for example. That's what I forgot to ask. So the kite is a kite, but inside the kite is this beautiful, big, fat, grand trine. That's harmony, harmony, harmony. Okay? Benevolence. All right, let's have a look at the situation itself. Okay, with the Knight of Swords here, my feeling is that this might have been something that you've been either wishing or dreaming or maybe manifesting for some time. You might have, this is going to sound strange, Ivona, but it might have been manifesting inside of you with you hardly even being aware of it until it became fully apparent in your consciousness, because this looks like a really powerful energy of determination, the Knight of Swords, of getting done what has to be done in a way that is righteous, honorable, pure, like for the right reasons, the right purposes. And now is the time to strike. Literally, taking advantage. Let's just stay optimistic. We might as well just take an optimistic view so far, especially with this Three of Cups here, very much something to celebrate. So with the Knight of Swords here in the situation, to me it would indicate that it might be a divine opportunity to strike. So when I say strike, like strike the deal, close the deal, do the handshake, make the agreements, speak the words, declare to the seller, yes, I am ready to purchase. Yes, I want this. Yes, I want to do this. And then we're going to figure it out. We're going to do whatever has to be done to figure it out. Because sometimes, real estate deals can be very complex and very stressful. All right, now what are the challenges here? I don't know. So I got the Four of Wands here. It makes me feel as though I don't want to read too much optimism into this, Ivona, but it makes me feel as though maybe you have been wishing for this for a long time, but it's been so deep and secret that you never wanted to share it because of the chances that it would never happen, or it would just be a fantasy or blow up in your face. And the deep fear is that, oh my God, what if this doesn't work? I'll never have a chance to celebrate and share my wonderful new thing, your retreat. Because, like you said, with a retreat, it's very much a family thing. It's something like a place where you could celebrate. Literally a place. Okay, you see there's the castle in the background, right? It's a place. Let me try and hold it like this, see if that makes any better. So there's the place, all right? And that would be your castle, your brand new castle, which you can decorate however you want, adorn however you want, set it up, maybe privately, or maybe actually run a retreat. Who knows? Maybe a little mini campground or a mobile home park or something. Who knows? Or a little campsite or something. Or just a place where people can chill. I haven't seen any details. But obviously the fear would be, oh my God, what if it doesn't work? I'll never have a chance to do something like this again. I'll never have my castle. I'll never have a retreat. I'll never have such a bountiful opportunity to share and celebrate. And even have what do they call it? A housewarming party. All right, so how are we going to move forward? Because that would just represent a little tiny bit of fear, okay? Let's have a look. Moving forward. Okay, Ivona, just keep doing what you're doing. With the Knight of Wands here, just the way forward is to proceed with your existing aura, your existing confidence, your existing momentum, your existing, let's just call it what it is, perhaps divine blessings, divine ordinance, divine guidance, and just keep doing that on the understanding that you're guided and protected, and this is a good thing. It's a wholesome thing, and it's not just about you gratifying some personal, desire. It's something bigger than that, and it's something where it's like, how do they call it? Lead with confidence, lead with pride, lead with inspiration, with intent, in such a way that it's almost like you come alive. Let's say that this situation here is very symbolic, okay, Ivona, where, hold on, give me a second. I don't want to read too much into this. Give me a second. There's something wrong with the computers and things. Give me a second, okay. So what I was sensing there with the Knight of Wands is that, first of all, we have to make the premise is that this looks like a good thing, and looks like it's just a little bit above an average. This isn't just you just getting a place to, a new place to hang out or whatever. It looks like something that's kind of special, and maybe something that you've wanted for a long time, and things never quite lined up, but now is that particular moment, and you might be one of these very fortunate people who are tapped into and tuned into the beautiful harmonious aspects of that kite. That kite's not going to disappear tomorrow or the day after, but because you still got Mercury coming through, we've still got the Sun coming through for at least, another week or so, where that harmony is still going to be very available to you. So I don't know how far along you are in the the transaction process, but what I'm sensing with the Knight of Wands, the way to proceed is with confidence. And what's that expression? Have you heard that? Live by example. So by letting your optimism, your own natural energy move through you in such a way where you radiate the aura of the Knight of Wands in such a way that other people would want to follow you and go along with you. Like for example, the broker is like, oh my God, this would be great if we could close this deal, Ivona. The lenders or whoever, it'd be great if we could close this deal, Ivona. And the seller is like, Ivona, it'd be great for someone who actually understands the awesomeness of this property. It might be like you might be the perfect buyer. Let's do this. And so you lead by example. You basically kind of live. In other words, you let what's already happening that's benevolent, you continue to allow the benevolence to work through you and to finalize and close this thing in such a way that it's manifest. Manifest destiny, they call it. Of course, you won't know till you know, but what the reading feels like to me is just keep going, doing exactly what you're doing now. Perhaps give yourself a little boost of confidence, knowing that you've just had a little mini reading live in public that has a positive, optimistic tone that's very, very supportive of your path here. Okay? So there's your mini reading. I hope that helps. Okay? Thank you, Ivona. All right, Gregory, you're up. I've got to get things sorted out here. Let's have a look. All right, so we're going to shuffle up. Get ready, Gregory. All right, Mr. Ross, you are up. Yep, general is good for you. I'm okay with that too. I love doing blind readings. Cards are well shuffled, no jumpers, no flyers, no oracles, no reversals, nothing like that. I keep it super simple. Gregory, what do I need to say? Everybody knows you here, and we've worked together many times before. It's been a hell of a journey, and we're still here. We're still on the journey together, folks. All right, so we're going through, let me just reference this. It doesn't matter who you are, where you are on earth, this is the energy that's external to you right now, that's affecting you or everyone in one way or another, okay? So, like, just as a reference point for people who are not used to this stuff, this chart, the way it's delineated, is for planet Earth, starting with the Aries energy over here. But it could be this way, you know, for Cancer people. It could be this way for the Libra people. It could be this way for the Capricorn people, and so on, okay? So, you know, this exists, whoever you are, wherever you are, but it's a question of where do these aspects lie in your chart. For example, if you just happen to have extremely close alignments in your own chart with this, this, and this, you're going to really be heavily impacted by what's happening right now. It's just a question of degree. We're all impacted to some degree, but some more than others, depending on your own personal astrology. All right, here we go. Let's have a look. What kind of messages do we have for Mr. Ross tonight regarding the life of Mr. Ross? Okay. All right, here we go. Here's the situation. Here's the challenges. Here's how we're going to handle things. And let's have a look at external energies. As you know, I like to default to the planets. Let's have a look. So, the Ten of Wands. Now, recently, if I recall, Gregory, we've been getting a lot of this particular card in some of your readings, one way or another, somewhere in the placement, placed there. Okay, so the Ten of Wands to me, it's an indication that there's no let up at all in the immediate environment, where it just feels like, well, obviously the symbolism, like back-breaking, permanent, never-ending stress. When is this ever going to ease up? Okay, so back to the astrology. Depending on your private, I don't want to go too deep into your own personal astrology, but let's just say, for example, that you have very significant Piscean energy here. The Piscean energy is under extreme duress from this aspect here. And what it could indicate, and there's another one aspect over here, Saturn in Pisces retrograde, is very, very difficult to deal with right now for anyone who has significant Piscean placements, because Pisces is Saturn's right there in the middle at maximum power, radiating its orb of influence for about 5 or 8 degrees on each side. Okay, so so Gregory's Pisces rising. Okay, so let's just, for example, let's do that. Okay, so I've just turned this into a Pisces rising chart by doing from here to here. See? Okay, well, let me this be like a mini micro astrology class as well. So with Pisces rising, we're going to align the chart like so. So this would be the horizon. This is the house of self, or the first house, or the rising sign. And that would be the 7th house over here. The house of open enemies, the house of marriage, the Virgo aspect over here. So for any Piscean right now, if you have a very strong Piscean nature in your astrology, there's tremendous pressure, tremendous unrelenting stress and pressure, mostly from the Saturn energy here. The Neptune is hard enough to deal with, but it's right at the crisis tipping point, and I don't want to go into the acute degrees. I'm just going to go to like a generalization. So just so that you can feel a little bit more comfortable, Gregory, I have very, very significant Piscean placements myself. Not over here, but certainly enough where I am acutely aware of the presence of Saturn. It's brutal, it's unrelenting, and it's retrograde. Now, of course, the beautiful thing is that it gives us a chance to understand what is wrong, where is it wrong, how is it going wrong, why is it going wrong, where is it going wrong, with whom is it going wrong. In terms of like the karmic energy, in other words, how did I screw up in the past of my life, decades and decades, to get to the point where I'm right now, where, yeah, I'm still awesome Gregory Ross, I have all these good characteristics and stuff, but why is this is such a painful placement? When is it going to ease up? Okay, well, Saturn is retrograde, okay, so it's going this way, but eventually it's going to turn direct, and eventually Saturn is going to end up here in Aries. And that will change things very differently. It'll be starting to enter your second house over here. And Saturn moves much quicker than Neptune or Uranus and Pluto. So it's stuck here right now, but in a matter of months, let me just show you. Let's see if I can do this. Do the astrology here. It's really a matter of months before Saturn moves into Aries, but it's probably, I didn't check it exactly, December. Yeah, it's going to be well into 2025. So that'll change everything. So you've got to deal with September, October, November, December, I'm guessing January, February, probably about maybe a year. I mean, it sounds awful right now, but believe me, in terms of the long term, like remember with Pluto, for example, I wrote my book based on the global restructuring time bomb of January 2020. We're still dealing with it years later here, and we're still going to be dealing with it for the next couple of years as Pluto migrates to Aquarius, okay? But Saturn is moving much quicker, so even though a year sounds like a long time, it's going to take roughly a year for Saturn to move from here to here, and that's going to be a tremendous decrease in pressure on you, your sense of self-identity, like who am I, why am I here, how did I get to this point, why is there so much pain and suffering and karmic, it feels like unjust, almost like how did I get to this point where there's so much pressure and I have to keep going, I just have to find ways, reason, logic, meaning, purpose to keep going, to justify this, because it's kind of like there's no other option. You have to keep going. All right, let's have a look. Situation itself. I'm glad. Yeah, you got to have a sense of humor with some of this stuff. Otherwise, you could just go down such a dark hole of misery and self-pity. It's not a good path. All right, let's have a look at the situation. We have Two of Pentacles. So, for example, with the Pentacles, obviously there's money, the issue of money. But let's take it deeper. Let's look at the subject of value or values. If you feel that like there's profound shifts in your values, your value systems in life, in the world, and perhaps how those values are affecting you financially, then that could explain a lot of the Two of Pentacles here. In the background, there's a lot of turbulence, which is essentially forcing you to have to take a very close examination of yourself, your values, your value system going forward as you navigate in order to stay in harmony and balance. Have you ever heard of the what's called a gimbal? Okay, so I used to do a lot of sailing when I was a kid. So in the world of sailing, like if you've got anything bigger than a little sailing racing dinghy or something, if you're going into full-size boats, 30, 60, 80, 100 feet or something like that, they will typically have an interior where there will be benches and beds and stoves and cupboards and bunk beds and so on, and a motor, and everything like that inside the cabin. And if it's a sailboat, especially if it's a sailing boat, where the sailboats can tip to one side or another, there can be times if you're doing a long distance sail where you got to take a break, you got to have a meal, so you're going to cook something, you're going to put the kettle on, have a cup of tea, you're going to fry some eggs and make some scrambled eggs on toast or something, and the boat is tipping this way, okay? But how do you keep the stove from spilling everything? Well, the stove is on a gimbal. So the gimbal stays like this even though the boat might be doing this. Okay? The gimbal is kind of like a hinge system that allows the stove to move left, right, up and down, backwards, forwards, so that it stays balanced and even. So you might be going like this, whoa, while you're trying to, make some scrambled eggs or something, but the scrambled eggs will be just fine, okay? And so it can feel very disorienting and very uneasy when you're in one of those situations. But again, if this is part of the path in your journey of life where you're in that situation right now, where you effectively feel like you're at sea, where there is maybe the horizon is pretty far away and you didn't know you were going to go out this far, this deep, and get into such a situation where you're forced to have to figure out, what am I going to do because this isn't working for me? In other words, I do have pre-existing value systems, beliefs, resources, talents, gifts, and everything. But all of that is coming into question, like facing way down into the future in a year or two from now, okay? When Saturn goes into Aries, that's going to impact your second house of money, values, your core values, your belief systems, which correlate to the things that you value. What is it that you value? I mean, is it just getting money, or is it like, how do I get money? Some people don't care. I'll get money even if I have to commit crimes. Some people are extremely ethical about money, and so on. So it can be a very difficult terrain to understand and learn. But we all have to figure it out. So what I'm seeing with the Two of Pentacles for you is that it's time to understand that you're being challenged to figure out the fundamentally new values and value systems. Like, where does my money going to come from? How am I going to spend my money? What is that going to look like going down the road? Because there's no indication of any, let's say, calming of the storms. In fact, I believe the storms are going to become more and more turbulent as we go through them over the next couple of years, especially when Uranus moves into Gemini around the time that Pluto moves into Aquarius. There's going to be enormous amounts of global upheaval, including the global financial system, which will directly or indirectly impact everybody on this planet. Whether you're a huge corporate mogul at the very top of BlackRock, Blackstone, State Street, or whatever, or you're a realtor, or you're an employee, or you're a retiree or something, it's going to affect everybody. There are some enormous changes coming to the global financial system. Huge, irreversible changes. And we have to be on top of it, including yourself, okay, Gregory? So just, you're not alone, okay? Don't forget that. You're not alone. We're all going through similar kind of turbulence, but we're talking about personal now, okay? So when I connect these two together, it makes me feel that you've already been dealing with this for some time, because Saturn has already been in Pisces for at least a year and a half, okay? Tremendous stress. Saturn in Pisces, I can't imagine a more painful placement. So it's not going to end yet. And so it's a question of accepting and understanding, and hopefully this little story I'm telling here gives you a better ability to understand what's actually happening. In other words, it's not you, it's not your fault. It's circumstances, it's nature. You've lived a life up to a certain point where, that's me, I've been there, done that, done this, but what about now? What about now? This is the now. Right now, it's all about dealing with a backlog of a storied life with all sorts of ups and downs, to the point where at this particular chapter you're carrying a lot of weight that was probably unanticipated. Hopefully you might have been thinking, I should have been over and matured out of this by now, but here we are. And so going forward, it's really important, number one, to understand that you are in an unstable environment. And it's almost like, if you want to get very spiritual about it, it's there to help you evolve, because it's forcing you to have to really examine your values, your value system, your belief systems about what really counts in your life, in your world, and then recalibrate accordingly. So in other words, it's almost like you get a chance to see anything and everything that's not working, which can help you to figure out, okay, well, what's left, what, like a process of elimination by removing obstacles, okay? Let's look at the 10 here as a series of obstacles. Understanding what are they? Can you put any definition on the wands here? Like, oh, I've never been good with accounting, or I never thought of hiring a professional accountant, or maybe, I gotta get better, at bill collecting, or whatever it is. Whatever it is with your life and how you manage it, instead of going home at night and going, oh God, life sucks. It's like, oh, so that piece of shitty stuff just happened today. What can I learn from that? What does that really mean? In other words, removing obstacles, okay? The way to healing and, let's say, embracing the Saturn energy is to regard this as a blessing. I know it sounds ridiculous and painful, but Saturn is actually trying to help you. So by making it really blunt and stark, you can look at the 10 of Wands as perhaps 10 characteristics of your life and your world that you can clearly identify that are not working in a way for you that leaves you happy. Okay, so what are you going to do about that? And what are you going to do about that? How can I fix that? How can I fix that? Because the more and more you look at it that way, the more and more stability you will claim over here, so that by the time you get out of the Saturn influence on the first house there, you will have done huge amounts of homework on yourself to prepare for this tumultuous change that's coming to the whole world. So what's the problems here? Let's have a look. 10 of Swords. Okay, well, so with the 10 of Swords, it's just like, well, duh, it can't get any worse, okay? So if you're looking at yourself in the mirror and going, yep, that's it, I can relate to that. I can certainly relate to that. They can't screw me over any more than they've screwed me already. Maybe, sure, I will admit it, maybe some of these are self-inflicted wounds. Sure, yeah, we're all guilty of that. But honestly, a lot of this is something that perhaps happened by the laws of attraction. By being such a powerful advocate for other people, you might have attracted a lot of very, very hostile, dangerous energy from other people who are trying to take you down, don't like you, don't want you, literally want to suppress you. But the beauty of this is that you're not dead yet, okay? So the idea is like, okay, well, what's the other expression? Whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Right, okay? So this is like amplifying what we've already just talked about here. So you go home at night thinking like, yep, it can't get any worse. So in other words, I have to ride the storm. I don't have any other options. It's the classic Saturn energy. Just imagine it's sort of like a massive Saturn return. Duh. Okay, oh God. This isn't going to go away soon, but the beauty about it is that this will go away. Eventually, the turbulence will subside, and there will be a harmony and balancing and a reckoning, okay? So how do we deal with this moving forward? I see what you're doing with your typing. You're being very, very polite. Thank you, Gregory, because as you know, my channel is very precarious. All right, so moving forward, let's have a look. Okay, so we got the Seven of Pentacles here. Okay, so moving forward, one of the most immediate aspects of the energy here is that it's just admitting that some of these issues, not all of them, some of these issues are my own doing. In other words, have I been neglecting certain aspects of my life, either deliberately or unwittingly, to discover that, oh my God, no wonder I might be feeling so much pain with my value systems, my money coming in, money going out, balancing the books and so on. Because there's a lot of money at stake here. That's what I'm sensing. There is a lot at stake. And if the problems and the challenges are not addressed face on, very systematically, very, very, let's say in a very Saturn way, in other words, one step at a time, then all of this is at risk. It just sits there kind of rotting. You know how, fruit rots on the trees if the trees are not harvested or weeded properly. And that would be, a sad loss. And so the way forward is to understand like, oh God, I got work to do. Yeah, I understand it. That comports directly with the Two of Pentacles here, trying to keep things balanced on the gimbal. Well, actually, the gimbal is doing balance. In other words, you've got value and values, you've got assets and resources of various kinds available to you, but while the sea and the turbulence is out there, it can be, I try to make it simple. Hold on, let me do it this way. Okay, so when I was doing the sailing analogy just now, there's the kitchen stove on a gimbal inside your 60-foot sailing yacht. And you're out there in rough water, pretty far from land. In fact, you can't even see land, so it makes you feel very, very scary and unstable, like, oh, waves going up, waves going down, whoa, but I'm hungry, I need scrambled eggs. And so you're cooking. So the scrambled eggs are there. They're fine. And because of the gimbals, everything else is moving around you. But you are standing on the floor in the cabin of your kitchen in the boat. So you are going, whoa, whoa, like this, trying to scramble your eggs while the eggs are just sitting there just fine. So like there's kind of no escape from the situation. It is what it is, because life is a journey. It takes you through different chapters, and in this particular chapter right now, it's sort of like being in a state of turbulence. I'm not saying like hurricanes and tornadoes. I'm just saying how the waters move up and down. Okay, remember Neptune's in Pisces too. So it's like how to deal with this going forward. In order that the scrambled eggs don't spill, you're okay already because they're going to be fine. So that comes back to you. So it's up to me. In other words, in order for me to finish cooking my scrambled eggs and to be able to eat my scrambled eggs, I am the one who's going to have to put all the work in to standing up and staying balanced so that I can harvest my meal of scrambled eggs. That's work. Work. Tedious work. It's very exhausting. I'm saying, Gregory, I've been in these situations myself. And it can be very exhausting to maintain your own equilibrium while everything else is, swirling around you. So with the Seven of Pentacles, what was it? Love Triber says these things quite regularly. How do you deal with that problem? Well, you do it one bite at a time. Just one bite at a time. So let's just say out of these 7 pentacles, and they represent certain aspects of your life, your skill, your talents, your money, your resources, your savings, your potential earnings, all of those things which are very, very valuable, very, very important to you. There's no point in looking at it and go like, oh, I can't handle this. This is just ridiculous. It's better just, okay, I'm just going to focus on this thing right now. Maybe I have to do some QuickBooks accounting business to sort things out a little bit, and then that'll be this area sorted out, and then you can take a break, and then you can go over to this section here like, oh man, I gotta talk to somebody who owes me a buttload of money. Damn. Well, just focus on that and nothing else. Don't worry about anything else except that one thing for now until that one thing is resolved, and so on and so on. You can't weed the garden all at once simultaneously. You have to do it in little sections, one bit at a time, okay? And that's how you clean it all up. And eventually, the pain and the suffering diminishes, okay? And eventually you land in the port. Let's say some time goes past and you reach a point of stability. Then this 10 of Swords will start to fade. 10 of Wands will start to fade away, okay? Oh, I see here. I've been not handling it for a long, long time and been in knots about some of the obligations. Okay, so for example, yeah, it could be very related to very long-term patterns with Saturn, That's one way to think of it. All right, so Gregory, I hope that little mini reading helps you. Thank you so much for your kindness, your patience, your donations, your loyalty, your friendship over the years. It's been wonderful. I hope Ivona gets her retreat, her property, and we can all go and hang out there. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Oh my God, I would love that. So I just want to share something that I've just noticed here, nothing to do with the show or the readings. Okay, so let me just clear this, and I'm going to sort it out later after the show. And we're going to wrap it up here. I don't see any more bookings, so that's going to be the end of the show. All right. Well, there we go. So I don't know if you were here, all of you at the moment, but earlier on, I was talking about, before we went into the readings, I was talking about the astrology of this and that, and how I was feeling really disgusting and gross, like I'd had radiation sickness, horrible, horrible, horrible condition. And I was describing a very moderate solar flare / coronal mass ejection. It was actually a very powerful, like a type ejection. It wasn't huge, but it was very powerful in its own right. And it flew off the sun at an angle to the earth. So it wasn't ever going to be a direct hit, but it was big enough and strong enough that by checking the solar space weather, I knew it was going to slam Earth at some point, typically a few days later, and that's what happened. But what I've just noticed on my computer, I can't really show it to you here, but there's a tiny, like at the bottom of my computer, like a lot of computers, there's a lot of buttons and functions and everything so that you can navigate and operate. And on one of them, there's a kind of a generic imagery that shows up as global events change. Like, oh, there's huge earthquakes, or there's, I don't know, fires in your area, or something like that. And they create little mini icons. And it's symbolic, like, oh, watch out, humidity, temperature alerts, or whatever. And they've just put one on here that shows a massive solar flare heading straight to Earth. I don't know if they're talking about what happened over a week ago or whether something just happened while we were doing the show. I don't know, but I'm going to check it out, okay? So, there we go. Thank you all for being here. I hope we can, well, we're going to do this again next Sunday. And I would please invite you to visit Rumble, TarotLumination on Rumble, because I do a lot of deep diving there that I can't do here anymore. So there's no point in doing it here anymore. But we have a long, long history of years of doing Sunday Night Live mini readings, and I feel safe doing that. So I'd like to continue doing that here. But there's no, the only way it operates is through donations, because YouTube is basically effectively it's not, there's no financial stream here anymore. I used to earn my living from my channel. It doesn't exist anymore in that way. So, you know, we have to move on. What do you do? So, I'm just going to share what I've learned about Rumble. The navigation feels very, very different. In order for me to provide pretty much exactly what we do here, where I'm talking mostly about the astrology for the world, we can personalize it, but mostly for the world, it's still very challenging. I can make videos, I can put them out there, but there's still a lot of stuff that's not working behind the scenes that needs to be figured out. And so you have to be patient with me going forward. But one thing I have learned about Rumble, and I'm still learning, I'm getting support from them. They're actually being very, very helpful, but it's a long-term process. So let's pretend this is Rumble right now, okay? And we're just doing our thing. Oh, blah, blah, blah. You know, the Russians are doing that. Ukraine's going to do that. And Jerome Powell and the Federal Reserve are going to do that. And it's going to be the evil monsters at the top of the food chain. All that evil stuff. All this stuff I love to rant about. And somebody says, oh, I love your work, TarotLumination. I'm going to give you a super chat. Click. All right, you can't, don't ever do that on my YouTube, okay? Because the money, you're throwing money into a black hole. YouTube will take it all. I will never see any of it. Same thing with advertising. They're going to put advertising on top of this video, whether I do it or not. Whether I click monetize or not. They're going to put the advertising. They collect revenue from that anyway. So, Rumble is a bit different. I'm not quite sure. But they do have something similar to a super chat. And it's called a rant, and it's just like what you guys see in the chat section. Like when you're on your device watching the show here, hanging out with the show, you can chat with each other, put comments and everything, and there's the chat button, the super chat button. On Rumble, they also have like a super chat button. It's bright green, and I think it's way at the bottom, just like here. And you can click that, and it opens up a payment processor, just like super chats, and you can enter your donation, whatever it is, like 5, 10, 20, 100, $1 million, or whatever. And it comes to my Rumble, TarotLumination at Rumble. And here's the beauty about it. Rumble gives me 100% of the rant money. Now that is a very, very big deal to me. There was a time when we had lots of super chats. Very, very busy. We had, hundreds of people on a show and things. Super chats pouring in, thousands of views and all of that. It doesn't exist anymore here. I'm hoping I can grow my Rumble channel to such a point where we do have a significant audience who can enjoy and get some guidance and, hopefully some awareness. And one way they can say thank you is by doing a rant. Now, I haven't done it yet. I've only seen one. Thank you, Necessary Truth. But what I believe also happens on the rant is that they give you an option to turn it into a monthly donation. So it's like being a member. That's very, very valuable to keep my momentum going. Remember, years ago, I used to have Patreon memberships and everything. Different levels where you could get private readings for big discounts and so on. I've kind of abandoned that because it was a lot of work to navigate and operate, and I really felt I wasn't giving any value. And how can I operate when the YouTube itself is making it impossible? So anyway, basically I'm inviting you to explore TarotLumination on Rumble. Try making some donations through the rant function. And there's another one coming soon called Locals, and I'll tell you about that once I've learned more. But that is really about long-term membership, which is there to support the channel long-term, to keep the channel going, okay? I have a lot to learn. As I learn more, I will share with you. So in the meantime, I'm going to say goodnight to everybody and wish you well. And see you next Sunday. If something important comes out and I have to put it on a little short, I will do that. I hope you still get your notifications. Take care of yourselves. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your kindness and donations. Thank you, Ivona. Thank you, Gregory. And be loving and be loved. Okay? I'm going to check out now.